Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Learn English Daily. I'm Alex. I'm really happy you're here today. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you for coming back. Every time you press play, you're making a small investment in yourself, and that matters more than you think. Today's episode is about something that can change not only your English, but also the way you live your life. Let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever looked at someone and thought, how did they do that? Maybe they became fluent in English. Maybe they found a better job. Maybe they became healthier. Maybe they look happier than they did a year ago. From the outside, it can seem like everything changed very quickly. It almost looks like one day they were struggling, and then suddenly everything became better. But real life is usually different. Most big changes are very quiet. They happen little by little, day after day, choice after choice. The interesting thing is that we often notice the result, but we don't notice the hundreds of small actions that came before it. Think about learning English. When you first started, maybe every sentence felt difficult. Maybe every conversation sounded too fast. Maybe you understood a few words, but not enough to follow the whole idea. You probably wondered if you would ever become confident. I think almost every English learner has felt that way. I know I have. There were days when I learned a new word. The next day, I forgot it. Sometimes I listened to a podcast and understood almost nothing. Sometimes I wanted to stop because it felt too difficult. But something interesting happened. Not in 1 week. Not in 1 month. Slowly, very slowly. The words started to sound familiar. The sentences became easier to understand. Listening became less stressful. Speaking became a little more natural. Nothing changed overnight. But everything changed over time. And that is exactly how life works. We often wait for one big moment, one perfect opportunity, one magical day when everything becomes easier. But most successful people will tell you something very different. Your future is usually built by the small things you do today. Not by one huge decision, but by many small decisions. A 5-minute walk, reading 1 page, learning 3 new English words, listening to 1 podcast, going to bed a little earlier, drinking 1 more glass of water. These actions look small. Sometimes they even feel unimportant. But small actions have a special power. They grow. Imagine planting a tiny seed. When you look at it on the first day, nothing seems to happen. The second day looks almost the same. The third day, too. If you only look at 1 day, you might think nothing is changing. But under the ground, something is happening. Little roots are growing, slowly, quietly. You cannot see them, but they are preparing for something bigger. Then one day, a small green leaf appears. People say, "Wow, look how fast it grew." But it wasn't fast at all. It was growing the whole time. The same is true for your English. The same is true for your confidence. The same is true for your habits. And the same is true for your life. That is why I want you to remember one simple idea while you listen to today's episode. Don't ask yourself, how can I change my whole life today? Instead, ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do today? That question is much easier to answer, and surprisingly, it is much more powerful. Because every big journey begins with one small step, not 10 steps, not 100, just one. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. If you enjoyed these episodes and they help you improve your English, don't forget to subscribe to Learn English Daily. And if this episode gives you even one useful idea, I'd really love to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me one small habit that has helped you become a better English learner. Your comment might inspire someone else who is listening today. Now, let's talk about something that surprises many people. If small changes are so powerful, why do so many people stay exactly where they are? Why do so many people want a better life, but never take the first step? The answer is actually much simpler than most people think, and that's what we're going to explore next. There are many answers to that question. Some people think they don't have enough time. Some people think they aren't smart enough. Some people are afraid of making mistakes, and some people are simply waiting for the perfect moment. But today, I want to tell you something that took me a long time to understand. The perfect moment almost never comes. Most people imagine that successful people wake up one morning feeling confident, motivated, and ready to change their lives. But that's usually not what happens. Confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first. Motivation doesn't come first. Action comes first. Success doesn't come first. Action comes first. That may sound simple, but it changes everything. Let me tell you a small story. Imagine that you want to learn how to swim. You buy books about swimming. You watch videos. You learn the names of every swimming style. You understand how your arms should move. You understand how your legs should move. You even know how to breathe correctly. But there is one problem. You never get into the water. Would you become a good swimmer? Of course not. Knowledge is useful, but knowledge without action changes nothing. Learning English is exactly the same. You can watch hundreds of videos. You can read grammar books. You can save vocabulary lists. But if you never listen, never speak, never practice, your English will stay exactly where it is. Life works the same way. Many people spend years preparing to begin. They prepare, then they prepare a little more. Then they wait. Then they think. Then they wait again. One day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 1 year. Nothing changes. Not because they are lazy, but because they are waiting to feel ready. Here's the interesting part. Nobody feels completely ready. Not when starting a new job. Not when learning a language. Not when starting a business. Not when making a big decision. Being ready is often something that happens after you begin, not before. I remember talking to someone who wanted to improve his English. He said, "Alex, I'll start practicing when I know more vocabulary." I asked him, "How will you learn more vocabulary if you never practice?" He smiled, because he knew it was true. Sometimes our own thoughts become the biggest obstacle. We tell ourselves stories that sound reasonable. I'll start next Monday. I'll start next month. I'll start after I'm less busy. I'll start when I have more confidence. But if we're honest, those days keep moving further away. Instead of asking, "When should I start?" try asking, "What can I do in the next 5 minutes?" That question changes your focus, because suddenly the goal feels possible. Maybe you can learn 3 new words. Maybe you can listen to 10 minutes of English. Maybe you can read one short page. Maybe you can repeat 5 sentences out loud. That doesn't sound difficult anymore, and that's exactly the point. Big goals can feel heavy. Small goals feel possible. And when something feels possible, you're much more likely to do it. There's another reason people stay stuck. They believe they need a perfect plan. Have you ever done that? You spend hours looking for the best method, the best app, the best book, the best course, the best schedule. You compare one idea with another, then another, then another. At the end of the day, you haven't actually started. Searching feels like progress, but it isn't always progress. Sometimes it's just another way to avoid taking action. Think about using a map. Imagine you're standing at the beginning of a beautiful hiking trail. You have the best map in the world. You study every path, every mountain, every river. You know exactly where everything is, but you never take the first step. Will the map take you to the top? No. The map is useful, but walking is what moves you forward. The same is true for learning English, and the same is true for changing your life. A simple plan that you actually follow is much more powerful than the perfect plan that stays inside your notebook. So don't ask yourself, what's the perfect way to learn English? Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that I'll actually finish? Because finished is always better than perfect. One finished lesson, one finished podcast, one finished conversation, one finished page. These small victories teach your brain something very important. They teach your brain, I am someone who finishes what I start. And little by little, that becomes part of who you are. Not because you said it, but because you lived it. Let's continue. Because there's another idea that changed the way I think forever. It's the idea that tiny improvements can create extraordinary results over time. Let's continue with that idea, because this might be one of the most important lessons in today's episode. Most people want big results. They want to speak English fluently in a few weeks. They want to become confident as quickly as possible. They want to see huge progress immediately. And when that doesn't happen, they feel disappointed. Then they stop. But real progress usually doesn't look exciting. It looks small, very small. Sometimes it's almost impossible to notice from one day to the next. Every new word you understand makes the next conversation a little easier. Every sentence you repeat makes speaking feel a little more natural. The changes are small, but they never disappear. They build on each other. Think about children learning their first language. They don't wake up one morning speaking perfectly. They hear thousands of conversations, thousands of sentences, thousands of simple words. Little by little, their brain begins to recognize patterns. Then one day, they start speaking. Not because they studied grammar first, but because they've spent enough time listening and using the language. As adults, we sometimes expect ourselves to improve much faster. We become impatient. We compare ourselves to people who have been learning for years. And we forget something very important. Everyone has their own beginning. Someone else's, chapter 10, is not your chapter 1. So don't compare your progress to someone else's progress. Compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. Did you understand one new sentence today? That's progress. Did you learn one useful expression? That's progress. Did you spend 15 minutes listening to English instead of scrolling through random videos? That's progress. Never underestimate small wins. Small wins create confidence. Confidence creates consistency. Consistency creates fluency. It's not magic. It's simply how learning works. Let me ask you something. If you saved just $1 every day, would you become rich tomorrow? No. But after months, after years, those small amounts would become something much bigger. Time works the same way. 10 minutes today, 15 minutes tomorrow, 20 minutes next week. Those small sessions begin to change your life. Many learners say, "I don't have one free hour." That's okay. You don't always need one free hour. Sometimes 10 focused minutes are enough. You can listen while making breakfast. You can review vocabulary while waiting for your coffee. You can repeat sentences while walking. English doesn't always need a special place. It only needs a small place in your daily routine. That's one of the biggest secrets successful learners discover. They stop waiting for more time. Instead, they use the time they already have. There's another habit that can make a huge difference. Celebrate your progress. Not only your final goal. Many people only feel happy when they reach something big. But if happiness only comes at the finish line, the journey becomes very difficult. Instead, celebrate every step. The first time you understand a podcast without subtitles, celebrate it. The first time you order food in English, celebrate it. The first conversation that feels easier than the last one, celebrate it. Those moments matter. They remind you that your hard work is paying off, and they give you energy to continue. Remember, fluency is not built in one extraordinary day. It is built through hundreds of ordinary days. One lesson, one conversation, one podcast, one new word, one small improvement after another. That's how confident English speakers are made, not overnight, but one day at a time. And honestly, that's good news, because it means you don't have to be perfect today. You only need to be a little better than yesterday. If you keep doing that, month after month, year after year, one day you'll look back and you'll realize that the person who once felt nervous about speaking English can now enjoy real conversations with confidence. Let's finish today's episode with one final idea. It's simple, but if you remember only one thing from today's conversation, I hope it's this. Your English does not change because of one perfect lesson. It changes because you keep coming back. Again and again and again. Some days will feel easy. Some days will feel difficult. Some days you'll understand almost everything. Other days you'll wonder if you're improving at all. That is completely normal. Every learner experiences those moments. The important thing is not how you feel on one single day. The important thing is what you do over many days. Because learning a language is not a sprint, it's a journey. And every journey is made one step at a time. So don't ask yourself, how can I become fluent this month? Ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do today? That question is much more powerful. Maybe today you'll learn 5 new words. Maybe you'll listen to this episode one more time. Maybe you'll repeat your favorite sentences out loud. Maybe you'll practice speaking for just 10 minutes. Whatever you choose, do it well. Then come back tomorrow. Little by little, your vocabulary will grow. Your listening will become stronger. Your pronunciation will become clearer. And speaking English will start to feel more natural. Not because you forced yourself, but because you gave yourself time to grow. I also want you to remember something that many learners forget. Making mistakes is not the opposite of learning. Making mistakes is part of learning. Every mistake teaches your brain something new. Every correction makes you stronger. Every conversation gives you experience that no textbook can give you. So don't wait until your English is perfect before you speak. Speak with the English you have today. Tomorrow, you'll have a little more. And next month, even more. Progress is built through action, not through waiting. If you've listened to this entire episode, you've already done something valuable today. You invested time in yourself, and that is always a good investment. I'm really glad you spent these minutes with me. I hope this episode helped you feel a little more confident, a little more motivated, and a little more excited about your English journey. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to Learn English Daily. That way, you'll never miss a new lesson. And if you know someone who is learning English, share this episode with them. Sometimes one simple lesson can completely change someone's mindset. I'd also love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what is one small habit that helps you improve your English every day? Or, what small habit would you like to start this week? I read your comments, and they also inspire other learners around the world. Before we finish, let's leave with one final thought. Small steps, every day, without giving up. That is how confidence grows. That is how fluency grows. And that is how real English becomes part of your life. Thank you for listening. My name is Alex. This is Learn English Daily. Take care of yourself. Keep listening. Keep speaking. Keep learning. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.